But on some of your players, there also needs to be criticism of them. And I focus on Trent a lot because I was kind of offended as a football fan that a 20-year-old is being called the greatest. No 20-year-old can be the greatest in a particular position in the Premier League at 20 ever. They can't at 20. You can't be that greatest person for the very reasons that Have Hope pulled on earlier. As time changes, your team evolves, as tactics in football evolve, do you maintain your level of consistency? There are certain players, there's one that I won't name because of what's going on in his personal life right now, but over 2 decades of football, changed his position and maintained his ability to influence teams towards winning leagues. They are the greatest players because they've been it and done it. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a key component here to, I think, what's gone wrong at Liverpool is there hasn't been, you become stale because players have become complacent. You haven't gone out.
He epitomises the issues. When you watch him play, he epitomises what the issues are.
He absolutely does. And you just look at these stills I've got here. And I want to, people have said for ages, oh, he's a world-class player. He's a world-class crosser of the ball. And I've changed my mind on him. Here, Champions League final, ball played in. Positionally, does not need to be where he is because there's no threat centrally. Should be further back, should be covering that ball from Vinicius Jr. He doesn't move from this spot. Vinicius Jr. easy tapping at the back post. A world-class defender doesn't make that mistake. But maybe you would say, well, every now and then defenders make mistakes. Yes. But then you look ahead, game earlier on last season against West Ham. There he is level with the player in the middle who's the eventual goal scorer. By the time the ball is played through to this individual, look where the attacker is, look where Trent is. No awareness of what's going on. Now, I don't think Trent's lazy. People call him lazy. I think it's worse than lazy. We move on to this, the next steal, which is versus Manchester United. You can see him there in the on the right-hand side of the pitch, standing still. Now, some will say, oh, he's nowhere near the play, Terry. How can he be at fault? Or Trent has to take, Sancho has to take a touch, move on the inside, move on the outside. You then see Trent react and try and close down. If Trent has the awareness required, he can stop Jadon Sancho from getting his shot off.
But he didn't. The only part I disagree with you there, Terry, though.
Mate, let me just finish, please. Let me finish. You have here the same thing against Napoli just the other day. Standing still on the 1-2, watching the play go by. Watch the runner. Trent's got the speed. If he move with that 1-2, he can go in there and potentially cut that ball off. In the same very game, look where Trent Alexander-Arnold is, and look where the player in the middle is, who's just about to run in blue. He's the eventual goal scorer. The ball's about to be played. By the time this ball, Trent gets left behind because Trent doesn't see the danger. And like I was saying, people can disagree on one or two of these pictures if they want. But this is my point on Trent Alexander-Arnold. He isn't lazy like people are calling him. He doesn't see it. His defensive awareness is one of the worst right backs in the league when it comes to awareness. He should be developed by now into a midfielder or an attacker because he doesn't see the danger.
Gareth Bale. Oh, he's
not
a left back, but he's not a left back.
He is so complicit.
He can't be a midfielder though. He can't be a midfielder because of their issues though. He doesn't scan. He doesn't scan. He doesn't look around. That's the be all end all for a midfielder. You have to know what is going on around you. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is a ball watcher. He's very lazy on the defensive end. The reason why it gets at me so much with Trent at the minute is because there are games where you watch him and he does so well defensively. Last season was a major improvement defensively for the most part. And then you watch this season and you're sitting there going, just try. Because when you do it, when you can be bothered, when you actually look like you care, you're a good defender. You're a brilliant right back, but he doesn't do it.
Trent is such a good footballer in terms of on the ball that he's a player that if you've got the right team, you can give him a free roll.
He's a luxury player. He's a luxury player. He's a classic luxury player. You build your team around him. You have people who do the work around him.
So if he's in the midfield, you say he doesn't scan. Cool. You have two people that do that. Like when Gareth Bale was the left back and he never won a game for Spurs at left back. And especially under, I think it was AVB first. And he moved him into the hole basically. And just said, we get the ball to you and you do the madness. That might be where Trent ends up because defensively, we've seen this from 2018 when he was, and the reason back then was he's young, and that's the reason Rashford chop him up. But 4 years later, the teams are having plans to say, let's attack Trent. This is a Champions League, Premier League winning team, and the plan is attack Trent Alexander-Arnold. He can't play a right back long term.
He doesn't see the danger, and this is the thing. And I'll stand by my statement. And maybe it's a little bit over the top when I say worse. right back in the league when it comes to defensive awareness. If this guy had to go and play for a team that has to defend for 80 minutes of a game, he'd make a mistake every week and he'd be kicked out. They'd kick him out of the team. They'd kick him out of the Premier League. The fact that he has one of the best passes, one of the best crosses, some of the best vision in terms of it from an attacking point of view in the league, and maybe one of the best the league has ever seen, that element of Trent is undeniable. I used to give him a bit of a pass when I was calling him world class and go out, you know what, the defensive stuff will come along later in his career. In fact, he's getting worse now because he's becoming more, it's being exposed more and more and more. And that's just a few screenshots I took. If you watch them back, people may disagree with one or two, but it's always Trent's side. And when I really cottoned on to the fact that Liverpool fans knew he was a liability in that position was when Sam was one of the guys that pushed this, but every Liverpool fan parroted this, pretty much every Liverpool fan parroted this for 6 months. He's told not to track and not to go with runners. It's the tactic so that when we win the ball back, he's ready to counter. Now, that was an okay example on some of the stills, some of the video footage where he isn't going with the runner from a midfield position back into defense. But when he's not going with runners on the edge of his box, that's not to do with counterattacks. And the fact that Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool haven't addressed this, they don't drop him. He had a game beginning of the season where he lost possession 39 times in a game. 39 times. We've got to remember here, Bruno Fernandes gets crucified for doing it 15 times, 16 times, 39 times.
Terry, you know what?
And then he's back in the first team. Klopp is creating complacency by not dropping out of form players.
We've got no one to drop him for at the minute, though, because I'm not playing James Milner at right back. He's ancient.
What about your academy? What about your he's an academy player. You must have a kid in the academy that can come in and do a job. Because right now, an academy player will defend better than him. 100%.
No, they wouldn't.
The thing is,
our academy is full of right wingers who are right backs. Our academy is full of them. Isaac Maguire got pre-season minutes. That's all he is. He's a right winger at right back. All our right backs are done. Joe Gomez is finished. Milner can't do it. Calvin Ramsey's injured. Calvin Ramsey failed his medical and was still signed because he's got a sore back at 19. Isaac Maguire is 17 and can't defend. Our right back is an issue, but we persist with it because when he's on it, he's class. There are two sides to the game. And when you are playing Harvey Elliott, who is a right winger at central midfield, a defensive liability, you need to make sure that the fullback supporting him is solid. And that is not what the right-hand side is at the minute. The right-hand side is frail. The right-hand side is the weak point. And it just gets exasperated every game.
Sorry, Terry, can I just speak on it real quick? There's so much on Liverpool I want to speak on, but I know we haven't got time. But on everything that's you've been saying about Trent, you're right. Everyone always says that Pep, checkbook manager, and that's the reason why he has the success. But right now, you just spoke about you've got no one to replace Trent. Well, when Mendy got injured before the other reasons he's not playing now, we didn't have a left back, but we took Zinchenko or we took Delph, and Pep used the system to create a player that can play in that system. And I think this is where people need to, again, respect Pep. This season, I've seen concerns down the left because I'll be honest, personally, I don't rate Cancelo that much as a defender, right? But he's very good in our system. And this season, the biggest concern I've seen has been first couple of games, West Ham and Bournemouth. Everyone noticed we're playing with our fullbacks inverted, and I don't mean how he usually plays it. They're really coming into central midfield, and the key was Nathan Ake on the left. Because every time any team tried to counter down the left, Ake was over there. He put his burners on, got over there and covered. The minute Ake got injured, he came off against Newcastle. We went 3-1 down. 3-1 down, right? And then all of a sudden, we've seen us go out and buy Akanji. Because Pep's seen that there is an issue there. Laporte isn't about at the moment. We need an Ake got injured. It's very, very important that whoever we play at left back, and remember, Cancelo, if Walker's injured, is going to have to switch to the right. We have to have a left centre back that can cover. So we can blame Trent, but you know what? Why should we blame Trent? We all know Trent is not good defensively. So you create a system and get players around him that can cover for that so that Trent can be the player that he is. Go on.
The reason why people are blaming Trent is because we've always known this, but now he's not even trying. I think that's why people are so offended by Trent. They know that he's not a great defensive player and they have holes in their squad. But I'm seeing somebody, I mean, he is walking, he is not engaged, he is not involved. And so I can understand, like, that there's other issues, but that boy was walking. He was walking. He was standing like a statue. He looked so like disinterested, and I feel like that's offensive. So I feel like that's more what it is, but I understand what you're trying to say, like, don't just blame him. But if you saw any player on your, like, a player that came through your academy, if I saw Saka doing that, I'd be heading over to the Emirates right now. Like, what are you doing? It's offensive. So yeah, like, I get what you're saying, but like, he was,
if you're just not good enough, you're not good enough. I can't fault you if you're just not good enough. I can't sit there and go, you should be better when you just can't do better.
That's fair.
But I can question work rate. That is the bare minimum for a footballer. You have to work hard. That Napoli game was a disgrace from him. The amount of times, I can't even say the left winger's name, but the amount of times he flicked it past him, and what you'd see Trent do, instead of track the run, would go, you just flick an arm out with the ball. So he's either going to handball it or not track the run. All that happens then is the wingers in on space. What's the
thing is, as well, as you say, when Have Hope was saying, when Henderson's on point and your centre backs are in world-class top-level form, it papers over these cracks. And that's why claims of the greatest ever right-back in Premier League history were premature, because and I am defending one of my legends. Gary Neville was top class for over a decade in that position. And for me, until you're consistent for over a decade, you don't get GOAT conversations just because you're really good at assisting. Like, you're a defense, and everybody said this.
Kyle Walker, Terry.
Oh, thank you, brother. I was waiting. I was about to say that as well, to be fair.
I'm never gonna. Anyone who puts pedigree chum on their wife's chuff isn't going to be called the GOAT in the Premier League, in my opinion. I'm only joking. That is true.
What about sucking your daughter's toes? Is that all right?
Hang on a minute. He was getting a splinter out of her toe.
Oh, that's right.
I did it to my daughter about 6 months ago. She got a bit of wood. I had to put a tie in my mouth and suck it out. Like, I didn't suck players' toes. That's going to be clipped.